In today's episode, we're going to help you determine if starting a podcast is right for you. Welcome to Podcasting Q&A, where you learn the best tips and strategies to launch, grow, and monetize your show. To say podcasting is a growing or popular medium and hobby would be an understatement. Spotify alone claims to have added more than 1.2 million new podcasts in 2021, and according to Podcast Industry Insights, courtesy of Daniel J. Lewis, there's been over 18,000 podcasts added to Apple Podcasts in the last 30 days at the time of this recording. These stats paint a very clear picture that an increasing number of people are not only listening to, but also creating podcasts. And you may be among that group of inspired and motivated future podcasters right at the cusp of starting your own show, and you just need that extra push and a few things answered. In this episode of Podcasting Q&A, you'll learn about 3 important factors to consider if you're wondering if you should start a podcast. First thing to think about are your goals and reasoning. Consider early on why you want to start a podcast. And what are some of your goals that you want to achieve by podcasting? Do you run a business and you want to launch a podcast to generate business leads? Are you hoping to make money from your podcast? Or will your podcast be treated as a hobby for self-fulfillment reasons? I started both my podcasts because I was passionate about a particular hobby and I wanted to engage with other fans and have a reason to capture the conversations I was having with my friends every week. Locking down your unique reason or goal for starting a podcast is an extremely helpful thing to consider before putting in the work to get one started. And remember, there is no right answer, just the one that's right for you. The second thing to consider is time. Podcasting can be a very involved process depending on the kind of show you want to launch and your goals, and it could add additional work and responsibility to an already busy schedule. You should ask yourself, do you have the time it'll take to launch and maintain a podcast and grow an audience? You'll need to account for everything that comes along with having a podcast, like content planning, writing a script and outline, recording, editing, publishing, and promoting. Your podcast will only grow based on the amount of time you're willing to put into these different factors. Number 3, what's your podcast about? Now that you've factored in your goals, reasoning, and time, you'll need to consider what your topic will be. Are you a subject matter expert on a particular topic? Can you speak about a unique subject for an extended period of time? Or can you find regular co-hosts or guests who can? Having an idea of what your podcast will be about and what you'll be talking about is a pivotal question you'll need to answer if you're wondering, should you start a podcast? I talk about comic books and pop culture topics, so I'm consistently researching and staying up to date with the latest news and developments that happen in that industry. You should ensure that your potential podcast subject is something that either has enough nuance to talk about on a regular basis or is a subject that you're passionate enough about so you can create content on a regular basis. Here are a few more things to consider. Podcasting is a rewarding hobby, and if you're comfortable or perfect at putting yourself out there, it can be a powerful marketing tool to help you become an authority in your subject area. But success in this medium doesn't come overnight. Not only will it require time, but most importantly, it will take dedication and patience, especially when you're first starting out. The truth is, it could take much longer to get traction going on your podcast than originally anticipated, and when that traction does come, there's a sense of responsibility to a growing audience that you need to consider. The reality is that it will require work and commitment on your part, but none of that should deter you from starting a podcast. I personally say that after 9+ years of podcasting, it's presented me with opportunities and introduced me to people I would never have met if I didn't start a podcast. So there's no better time to start one than today. Now that you know a few things to consider, if you're wondering about starting a podcast, consider watching this video explaining how to start a podcast with a step-by-step guide. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep podcasting.